Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Corin, also known as the Kitten Choreographer, and I'm a teen with a passion for animal rescue and, in particular, kitten rescue. So today's video is going to be a good old cat video. You know, it's just going to be sharing some information about cats and answering a question. So today's question is, should you let your cats outside? And, you know, this is a question that is pretty heavily debatable because, you know, cats have been around and domesticated for thousands of years, yet it's a relatively new development that people actually invite cats into their homes and keep them there. You know, when cats were first domesticated, they were used to control rodents and, you know, just be around, I guess. You know, maybe be a bit of a companion, but not really be the way we see cats today. You know, I believe it was only in the 1900s that people started actually keeping cats in their homes. You know, the litter box wasn't invented until, you know, relatively recently. I don't have exact dates on that, but you know, it's not a old concept for people to keep cats in their houses. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, you know, cats were kept outside for so many years. And so I think that's why a lot of people still let cats outside, just because, you know, they grew up with their cats being outside. You know, everyone in the older generations probably grew up with their cats being outside, or at least being indoor-outdoor. But today we are going to talk about, should you actually let your cats outside? Like, putting aside the fact that some people do let their cats outside, let's talk about, should cats be let outside in general? So, of course, there are lots of differences between lots of animals, you know, cats and dogs, for example, but I am going to be sharing, you know, something that is different about them that really should it be different? Should it? For example, if you were to see a dog outside, I personally would assume it was lost. There aren't really stray dogs in my neighborhood, and I know a lot of people also don't have stray dogs. There are definitely parts of the world where stray dogs are a lot more common, but in general, in my area, if I were to see a dog without an owner, I would assume it was lost. However, pretty much anywhere you go, if you were to see a cat outside, you would just assume it was a stray or that it was someone's pet that they just let out. So, you know, based on this mentality, you know, it's common for cats to be kept outside or to be allowed to go outside, but the question here is, should cats actually be allowed outside? Is it actually good for them to go outside? So we're going to analyze that now. If you're wanting my stance in just a direct, clear manner, it is no, cats should not be allowed outside. And that is because it is dangerous for cats to go outside. So this is why it is pretty dangerous to let your cats outside. So the average lifespan of an indoor cat is 10 to 15 years, which is great, you know, it's a long life for a cat. But the average lifespan of outdoor cats or indoor-outdoor cats is actually 2 to 5 years. And this is because of outside dangers. Unfortunately, there's just so many dangers outside that makes it really dangerous for cats to go out. So I have some dangers written down, and of course there are unfortunately more dangers than this, but these are just the ones that I could come up with, the ones that are the most common. I have them written down here, so if I'm looking down, that's why. And that is being hit by cars. I would say that's probably the most common. Being attacked by other animals, you know, like dogs or other rude cats or even just raccoons, that kind of thing. Getting diseases, and this is, yes, even if your cats are vaccinated, there are still other diseases that are less common but still there that they could get and that could be deadly. Or also just getting poisoned by toxins that they might accidentally ingest, you know, like rat poison, stuff like that. If you care about other little animals like birds and rabbits, if you let your cat out, your cat might kill them, just because that's kind of what cats do if they're given the opportunity. So if you care about those, you probably don't want to let your cat outside either, because they're probably going to end up killing some. And unfortunately, even in like safe neighborhoods, cats can still be hit by cars and affected by these dangers. I used to think that if you were in a neighborhood with not a lot of cars and not a lot of people, that it would be okay if you let your cat outside. And I've kind of changed my stance on that. I really don't think you should let your cat outside if at all possible. This is because I actually have a friend that lived in, you know, what I would consider a very safe neighborhood. You know, there are hardly any cars, all the people are really nice, and her cat actually unfortunately still got hit by a car and passed away. So even though the person probably didn't intend to hit the cat, but it was at night, you know, you can't really see, the cat just dashes in front of the car not knowing, and then the cat unfortunately gets hit and passes away. So it's definitely a very sad story, and it's something that, you know, it is pretty preventable a lot of the time. If you just get a kitten and you don't let it outside, you know, you think it might be fun to let them outside, but in reality it's just so dangerous that I really don't think you should let your cat outside if you can help it. However, there are a few instances I do think it is necessary to let cats outside or to keep cats outside, and that is a situation where the cat would not be happy inside. You know, it would affect the cat's mental health to be inside. For example, feral cats, cats that don't like humans, they would not do well in a home with humans because, well, it wouldn't be fun for the cats being around humans all the time, not being in their familiar territory outside. They don't know what to do. And then it wouldn't be happy for the humans because they have this cat that hates them. So, you know, terrified, upset, scared, angry cat versus upset human because they have a cat that doesn't like them, you know, it doesn't really mix. So that's why I do advocate for TNR, which is trap, neuter, return. You fix cats so they can't have any more babies and continue the cycle of suffering, but you put them back where they are because that's where they're the most happy. You know, even if their life may be shorter because they live outside, when they're older, it's really just not practical to try and force them to be in a home because they wouldn't be happy there. Outside is the only home that they've ever known, so they wouldn't be happy inside. For example, I had an outdoor cat when I was little. She was a cat that my mom found outside and she kind of tamed her, which, you know, it's hit and miss if you could like tame ferals, but it's not worth trying if the cats are older because there's a good chance it wouldn't work out and they wouldn't be happy and you wouldn't be happy because your cat didn't like you. But this cat was able to be tamed. You know, my mom got her fixed, but she wasn't happy inside. My mom had to bring her inside for a few weeks to get some babies that she had weaned and then adopted. You know, she got her spayed as soon as she could, but she'd already had babies at that point, so, you know, she had to take care of the babies. But she just was not happy for the few weeks she had to be inside. This cat's name was Scar. It's funny, I do have a video on my channel sharing her story, so it's a pretty old video, but I will link that in the description below if you want to check out her story. But she was really mangled. She'd been hurt by a car. She climbed up into a car's engine when it was cold, and someone turned on the car not knowing she was in there, and she got all scratched up and she lost an eye and an ear. So, you know what, there's another reason they could be hurt by cars when they're in extreme temperatures and trying to get away from it. Oh, also, cats could just get lost. Like, they could just get lost. Someone could think they're lost and take them. Lots and lots of reasons to keep your cats inside, but in a situation like this cat would not have a good life and be happy indoors. So that's a situation where you keep the cats outdoors, and if there are outdoor cats that you fixed and now are outdoors, I definitely recommend finding a caretaker for them, you know, someone that's going to provide food for them, and, you know, outdoor housing shelters for them in the winter, just so that they're not totally alone, but they are in the environment that they feel most safe. Even if it's not the safest environment, it's the environment they feel most safe in. And it is important to take into account the cat's mental health too. Another instance is if you have a cat colony that is in an unsafe area, move them to a safer area, even if that area is outdoors. That's why people still look for barn cats nowadays, cats that can handle the rodents in their barn if they live on a farm. And, you know, a lot of rescues now recommend not putting tame cats in the barn because the tame cats could go to a good indoor home. Instead, putting feral cats in that barn, you know, fixing them and then putting them in the barn if they are unsafe in their original colony. That way the cats can still not really be touched by humans if they don't want to be touched by humans, but they are still in a safe environment where the humans can put out some food for them, and they can also just be safer than if they were right next to a busy road or at an apartment complex where the landlords were threatening to kill them. I have heard stories like that before, which is really awful, but it does happen. And also, even if you have a cat, like you might have adopted them when they were older and they were already used to going outside a lot, you might have to let them outside too if they're just absolutely miserable indoors. But I definitely say do it as little as possible and try keeping them indoors, and if it doesn't work, try and let them outdoors in some safer methods, which I will explain in just a minute. But if you just have to let them outdoors, just know that it might not turn out well, unfortunately, and that's just the reality of letting cats outside. Like I said, my stance used to be if it was in a safe neighborhood then okay, but I knew a cat recently that passed away even in a safe neighborhood, because it was accidentally hit by a car, unfortunately. But I am going to share some safe ways to let your cats outside for a bit or let them experience some fresh air. I really like the idea of harnesses. You know, you walk dogs on a leash. Some cats like to be walked on harnesses. I tried to train one of my resident cats to walk on a harness and she just wasn't having it. All of my 3 older resident cats are very happy being indoor cats since we all got them when they were really little, and you know, they just don't have any interest in going outside. But a lot of cats do like to be harness trained. It's a fun way for them to go outside, but they are perfectly safe because you are with them. You can make sure they don't get into any fights or run in front of a car or, you know, ingest anything that could be dangerous. It's a really great way to keep them safe. Another way that I do for Smee, who can't walk, we can't welcome in a harness because he can't walk, but we put him in a stroller. You won't want to use just a kid's stroller because it's not properly enclosed, but they actually make pet strollers for small dogs and cats, and you know, you can zip it up, but it has a mesh top so that they can see out, and Smee has really liked going on walks in that stroller. Yes, I am the person that takes my cat on walks in a stroller. I'm just the weird neighbor, but it definitely is a fun way for a lot of cats to go on walks, or, you know, ride in a stroller on walks. Another great option is a screened-in porch or a catio. Catios seem really great. I would love to have one in a house someday. And if you don't know what a catio is, it's basically like, it's a screened in little tiny room that your cats can go out of. They can smell all the smells from outside, they can hear all the things, but they're still safe and enclosed, which is very important. You know, a lot of cats do like the environment of outdoors, but the actual dangers of outdoors are really dangerous, so it's not worth it to let your cats outside. I've heard some people that just let their cats outside because they don't want to deal with the litter box, and the litter box is not hard to deal with. Honestly, you know, I have so many cats. Me and my family kind of share the responsibility, but even if we didn't, they're not that hard to deal with. You know, if you only have 1 or 2 cats, you might only have to scoop it every other day, and it really takes like 5 minutes max to just quickly scoop out their stuff and throw it away. And you know, it's not stinky if you scoop it enough. Cats are very clean creatures. I think litter boxes aren't a big deal, but if they bother you that much, just don't get a cat. You know, some people bring up the thing that cats aren't happy indoors. They don't get all the things they need in life. They don't get enough exercise. They don't get enough enrichment. And that isn't true. Yes, you do have to work a little bit harder to make sure your cat gets all the exercise and enrichment that it needs if you are inside, but in my opinion, it's so much worth it to do a little extra work and have your cat live an additional 10-15 years than letting your cat outside and then having it die an untimely death. So I can potentially make an entire video all about how I enrich my cats. And enrichment is basically just extra fun things that kind of stimulate them, get their brains going, get their bodies moving. So I can maybe do a video all about their enrichment. But there are a lot of ways that you can enrich your cat inside. You can get exercise by playing with one toys with them, or if you have 2 cats, they can exercise by playing with each other all around the house, running around. If you're worried about them getting enough stimulation from watching the world, you can easily just search cat TV on YouTube, pop it on your TV, and then the cats can watch birds and squirrels and whatever run around, and then they get the stimulation that way. Or you can just put a little bed underneath a window, you know, make them a little window perch, and then they can look outside all day with the window closed, but they can still look outside. So there are lots of ways you can definitely enrich your cat without exposing them to the dangers of the outdoor world. So yes, I hope I conveyed all the information that I was trying to get across in this video. I feel like, you know, my brain is just a little bit fuzzy, but I hope this video was able to teach you something about, you know, how safe it is to let your cats outside. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe for more makeup and kitten related content. I upload on Sundays and on Wednesdays if I can, and if I can't, then I upload whenever I want to. Also, please make sure to leave any thoughts or questions that you have down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching again, and goodbye!